All right, welcome to Using Visual Supports. We are, Respite Care Association of Wisconsin is going to be doing monthly minis. So these short trainings that last about 30 minutes each month, just to give information in a shortened version to give everyone an idea of different topics. So this is Using Visual Supports. Our plan for today is we're going to go through some basic information of the reasons you would use visual supports, best practice tips, different stages or levels or different ways to use visuals. And then I have a lot of examples to show you and to really be able to give you a variety of settings or a variety of situations that might be useful to use these visual supports. And then we should have some time for questions in the end. All right, so visual supports help to communicate information. That's really kind of the basic of what it is. Sometimes it's helpful to make abstract information more concrete. So this is why you often see charts being used. Other times it's to increase understanding of language. It can be used for expressive communication. So not only information you're taking in, but information you're giving out. So what are some visual supports that you use? So if you wouldn't mind unmuting and just yelling out things that you use now, or you can put it in the chat. Just what are some supports or visuals that you use now in your everyday life?
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah.
So I actually just updated ours recently. My 8-year-old, she's getting a little bit more advanced. So we went from more of like a picture schedule to like more like a words with an actual picture too. And then I also created one for my son who just turned 2. So he has his little schedule too. So he has night and morning. And then I also have one for myself too, because I thought it would be nice to kind of keep myself accountable too. And well, if I'm going to make them do a schedule, I might as well have a schedule too.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing, Hannah. In the chat, Carrie had said Post-it notes, and that's a great visual support as well. Something for me is my calendar, and I use a color coding system. So this is a visual support that I use. And so I think we use visuals all the time, and we don't really realize that it's actually a visual support that we're using. So some common examples are school year calendars, having the different color codings that mean different things, having the symbols or whatever it might be, the street signs, those are all visual supports. Having the crosswalk, the school crosswalk, that doesn't have any words on it, but that is a visual that gives us information in the world. Sticky notes, to-do lists, electronic calendars, color coding in calendars, graphic novels, the pain rating scale that you often see in the doctor's office. That's a visual support. Hand washing signs, we've seen those absolutely everywhere. And that's another visual support. So it's just something to give more information outside of words. Because if you were to put all these steps of hand washing into a word format, that's going to take a lot of words, where instead a visual can give you a quick, here it is. We've also seen a whole lot of visuals recently, just with COVID-19. A lot of this social distancing, stay a cow length apart or stay 2 carts apart. This information here, your actions add up from the DHS or from Public Health Dane County, I believe. That gives a whole lot of information. Use masks, hand sanitizer, stay home, socially distance, Zoom meetings, stay within your group, plus the vaccine is slowing down COVID. And so that is a lot of information with just a few pictures. And so really that's the purpose of visual supports, is to give a message using less words so that people can understand it, so that there's not a language barrier or maybe not information that someone might not understand. So there's lots of benefits of using different visual supports. It helps to increase understanding of whatever the message is that you're trying to get across. It can decrease anxiety. For example, the visual of my to-do list helps me decrease my anxiety for the day. So then I know exactly, okay, this is what I need to get done. It can increase someone's independence. So for an individual, maybe it's having a schedule so that they know what they are expected to do, so they can be independent in themselves. I am working with one family that we're trying to schedule so that mom's not always telling her teenage son that, okay, it's time to get dressed, it's time to do this, it's time to get this in your backpack, all of these things. Again, trying to make him more independent by using a visual versus mom always telling him step by step what to do. It can decrease challenging behaviors. So really, if there's any challenges as far as misunderstandings or lack of communication, a lot of challenging behaviors is really just someone trying to communicate what they need or what they want. And so by providing visual supports, it's really going to decrease some of those challenging behaviors. It can increase communication, decrease frustration, and increase flexibility. So like we said, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and just really using a simple picture that really can give a whole lot of information. Using visual supports with individuals with disabilities. A lot of times individuals with a variety of disabilities need more time to process spoken word. We throw a lot of words at people sometimes, and sometimes we tend to talk really fast. And not slow down, not give them time to process in between. Sometimes individuals can process the spoken word, but then they have a hard time gathering their thoughts, figuring out what they want to say and have it go out and come out in the expressive communication. If you add in visual supports, the message stays present as long as the time is needed for them to understand. So it's not like spoken words where you are having someone tell you something and then it's gone. Visuals, they stay there so that they don't disappear. So it's just a really good benefit of having the visuals. It also allows someone who thinks in pictures to easily respond with pictures. Again, sometimes coming up with the words is more challenging. Some best practice tips. So if you are going to implement some visual supports, there's a few things that are really important to keep in mind to be successful. The first one is being portable, making sure that it can be used in a variety of settings. If you're only using visuals at home or at school or at a work setting, then it's really hard for that individual to be able to communicate in the other settings. So make sure that they're portable so that it can stay with the person and be with the person, because that becomes their communication device. Making sure they're durable. Oftentimes visuals are laminated in order to protect them or use them over more than one time. So making sure that they're able to last. Some individuals can definitely be rough on visual support, so figuring out a system that works for them. Easy to access. So visual supports that are always available. I've worked with some families that, oh yeah, our visual schedules are in the kitchen drawer and we pull it out when we need it. Well, if they're always in a drawer or always in a backpack, they aren't easily accessible for that individual to use, and they're often tend to be forgotten or not used very much at all. Using them consistently. Using individuals will help promote independence, or using visuals will help promote independence. If you only pull out visuals when someone is upset, it will lead to further frustration. They have to be comfortable using their visual schedules and can't rely on just waiting until they're frustrated. And now you're introducing a new system and expecting them to be able to communicate with it. So making sure that it's used all the time. And then also personalized. Everyone learns differently, everyone thinks differently, and kind of the example we heard earlier about going from just pictures to pictures and words. So making sure that it's personalized for the individual. One example that kind of encompasses all of these things, for many years, I was a director at Easter Seals Camp Wabeek, and one thing that we often came across, at least once a year, if not more, is caregivers wouldn't send the communication device. So it might be something that back in the day when it wasn't iPads everywhere, it was the expensive Dynavoxes. And, oh, I was worried about them getting broke. Well, okay, so now you're sending your camper for a weekend or a week, and they don't have their way of communicating. How does that affect that individual camper? How does that affect the staff around them? It's going to be a constant struggle trying to figure out how this works for that individual to communicate. So if we look at these things, it is portable, but it's not real durable if we're worried about it breaking. Easy to access while at home, because I'm guessing if it wasn't sent to camp, it probably is not sent to school or work either. You know, and just really making sure to have whatever system you use work for everybody. All right, some different levels. So there's kind of 5 different stages or levels of visual supports. The first is actual objects. So this works well with early learners or individuals who are visually impaired. So putting the actual objects out. So would you like to do Legos or would you like to color? And having the crayons or the Legos out. Having a choice board with the different objects taped to it. So this is a very basic beginner level. It's the most concrete form. It's the easiest to understand, but it's also very hard to be portable. It's very hard to be accessible and always available at any point in time. The next level is photos of an object or the person. This works works well for individuals that are concrete thinking and have a hard time connecting like drawings or drawings of something to an actual thing. So the pictures are very specific items that are taken in the setting that the individual is in. So if they use a specific pen or a set of crayons, making sure you take a picture of their crayons. If you want them to line up, take a picture of that individual lining up, whatever it might be. Again, using whatever specific object it is. The next level is picture symbols or drawings in color. So this is pretty much the most common that I've seen working with our different families. It is used quite a bit. You can use it in a lot of different systems. Oftentimes it is a picture along with words, which is actually another level. But this can be difficult for individuals that are having a hard time associating or generalizing two different things. If I don't have Play-Doh that looks like this, I'm not going to connect it to that's what that means. So individuals that are very concrete sometimes struggle with this and need a lot of prep or a lot of support in using this system. And then the next level up is line drawings or black and white drawings. And this can also be really challenging. If you look at the bottom left corner in the blue box, without the text, do you know that means going out to recess? I mean, to me, I would have no idea. Without the word recess, I wouldn't know that that is a swing and a ball. You know, and so this is a really abstract way of thinking. And really difficult for some individuals. So if you are working with someone and setting up a visual support, starting at this level might be very unsuccessful just because that's not the way the individual thinks. And then the final level is just text. So again, we talked about how a calendar can be a visual support. So just words. Text can also be paired with any of the picture different stages as well. So it can be used in a lot of different ways. So we talked a little bit about personalizing and figuring out the different levels. And I think this is a good example. So a lot of times we ask the individuals that we work with where they are emotion-wise. And each of these are very different. having the emoji faces definitely mean something to some people, but I don't look like a yellow circle or a blue circle or a red circle. So I might have a hard time connecting that with me. The inside out characters, well, if I'm familiar with the movie, maybe I can make that connection. So that might be beneficial to me. I'm using the full people on the top right. I might be able to connect with that, but a lot of times we teach individuals to learn about emotions because with facial expression, and this has very little facial expression. It's more full body language. So that's sometimes really hard for someone with autism to pick up on. So that might not be the best option for them. Using the bottom left corner, using the PEX pictures. Again, it's kind of an egg-shaped head. Can I relate that to me? And then the bottom right, using actual child faces. For some individuals, it might be best to take pictures of that individual themselves so that they can see how they are looking or how they feel. Because emotions are a really hard concept to grasp. So just kind of remember that as you're looking at creating emotion or visual supports, what makes sense for the person you're working with, and it might be a variety of things. Okay, so this next part, we are going to jump into showing you some actual visuals. I can stop my screen share. All right. So I have a variety of things. Feel free to type any questions in the chat, or if you have any questions, jump in. And because really the rest of the time we'll be showing you a variety of examples, answering any questions you have, and going from there. So kind of basic first thing, or one of the things I have here is a basic token board. So token boards are used if you are working towards something. So let's say you're working towards playtime or working towards maybe the basketball, maybe that's something that you really enjoy, or screen time, TV time. You would put the picture of whatever you're working towards here. And then the individual would have to know how they earn a basketball. So oftentimes I see these used for like potty training. That's a good time, or anytime if you're trying to reward behavior. There's lots of different opinions on token systems and reward systems. I'm just showing you an example of what one could look like. So that's a token system. I've also seen punch cards. Again, this is a very simplified version where you just take a hole punch every time they do whatever desired behavior they are. Once they fill up their card, they get to turn it in for whatever reward you might have for them, whatever works for them. So that's a system. Using first then cards. So something very basic. It could be something that's already created, first bathroom, then play. So that it's there, that's what you want done. First clean up, then eat. So again, it's something there. You might have another system where it's blank and you just use it with visuals, or with words. And I can say first this, then this. This could be a very portable thing, so you don't need to have a lot of pictures. You could also put Velcro here to change out the pictures depending on what you need. This works really well for individuals that have a hard time processing or remembering multi-step directions. So it's very simple, first this, then this. You can even add another one if they're able to, first this, then this, next. So first, then next. So it adds in an extra step for that individual so that they know what is coming up. These work well for transitions. So especially if it's a preferred activity that someone is doing and they don't want to stop, sometimes it might be first we do this, then we're doing this, so that they know that's coming up next. Let's see, what else do I have? This is another type of schedule that kind of a system I'm using for my kiddos here. Even though they are 4th and 6th grade, typically functioning kiddos, sometimes having picture schedules still work. So after school and before they get screens, they have to do 30 minutes of active, they have to have all their homework or studying done, and 30 minutes of reading. So they have to have that stuff done before they can do that. I don't care what order it's in. So this is really helpful. They can use this, and when they're done with one, they just put it up and done. So I don't care what order they do it in, as long as it all gets done, then they can have their screen time that they need or that they want. Let's see. This is a communication board. So it just has all of the feelings in one spot. Excuse me, sorry. This can be really handy as a quick tool so that you have it here. How are you feeling? And encouraging them to point to wherever they're feeling. One way we talked about being portable is getting these photo albums from Walmart for like 75 cents. You can have the different cards in the books here. And so then that way it's portable, it's durable, and it's something that can easily be changed out. And you have a variety of communication boards with you at all times. You might have, let's see, maybe a board that has the Velcro. So this has a variety of emotions, and again, depending on how that person is processing, these might be very challenging to know what those mean. Maybe it's having emotion cards that are, you know, more like this. But again, someone would have to know what annoyed means or what disappointed means, stressed out. So you can't just introduce this and have it work successfully. You really have to work up to it. But then having something like an I feel this, and so they could pick out however they feel and put it on, you know, and so again, whatever system you use. These pictures here come from a program called Boardmaker. They're pretty common in schools, though more places are going to pictures that are more realistic than Mr. Egg-shaped head guy, which is what is common in Boardmaker. You can also make it personalized for the individual. So for example, I have one kiddo I work with that he has this stuffed animal bear called Meritor Bear. And so then he has a hard time saying what he feels, but he can say, oh, Meritor Bear feels mad. And then maybe he can take from a choice board the different options of what he can do. Again, these are going to be things that are in his toolbox that works for him, and then put it on, oh, when Meritor Bear feels mad, he can do this to feel better. This is another example of a toolbox. Again, just if you're working with someone and they're starting to get upset, oh, here you go, and it's right there. Here is, these are called power cards, and you can use them for whatever whatever someone is into. So like here's Elsa, you know, if someone's into Frozen right now, and it's used to help provide social scripts. So what I'm supposed to do. So Elsa wants me to remember to be a good friend by sharing, using nice words, and listening. And so that's something that I would be working with that individual. Ways I can calm down. Take deep breaths, talk to an adult, go for a walk. So then again, these are simple things. It can be stuck in that individual's pocket and pulled out, and it's right there. For some individuals, I use a word schedule. So we talked about just using text. And so I just have very simple boxes, and then I have activities in just a folder. And so then when I go to work with this client, I can create his schedule based on the items that I have here. And then I just put it in the schedule and I'm set to go for the day. So again, something that's portable and that can be used anywhere. So that is a variety of visuals. Does anyone have any questions at all? I tried to kind of a short course into all the different things you can do. So any questions that anyone has? I am putting in the chat a link to a survey. Just if you could give any feedback or any other topics that you might want. Let's see, it said, Cynthia, it looks like you are raising your hand. Did you have a question? You would have to unmute. I'm not sure if. They can definitely be. So Cynthia's question was, can they be used with elderly? Yep. Let me share my screen again quick. Often I see these used, let's see. I have a Pinterest board, so I'll link that as well, with visual supports. And I've seen this used a lot with elderly individuals. So it might be something as far as labeling drawers so that they know where their clothes are. It might be using a stop sign, you know, don't go past this point. There's some information about with individuals with dementia, like color coding, so that there's a sign to go to the bathroom's pink, so then the signs are pink. So using them in a variety of different ways that might work for the individual. Awesome, thank you, Carrie. A good variety of visual supports, like the idea of the mini photo album. Yeah, again, just whatever you can take to have with you, works really well. I'm gonna also put in the chat the link to the Pinterest and also the link to our YouTube page, which is where this video will be posted. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Yeah, it was great chatting with you guys, and I'm willing to stay on a little bit longer. I did say that it would be a half an hour, and so we are definitely at our time. Any feedback that you have as well, you know, if these would be helpful, but to have them longer, maybe a 45-minute session, you know, that is something that we're looking at as well. So in that survey, giving us some feedback on topics, but then also what is appropriate time. You know, this might have been too big of a topic for a 30-minute crash course, but hopefully we're trying to fit into your busy schedules and give you a little bit of information as we go.
Is there any funding available for those of us that want to acquire some of these? Or do we have to make our own?
So there is a lot of free places online. So if you go into that Pinterest site, a lot of that is free. Let me share another site with you that I have found also. It is called Do to Learn. And these have a bunch of free picture cards as well. Most of the time you do have to print it. Again, you want it personalized for the individuals that you're working with. So if you just do a search of visual supports, if there's something specific you're looking for, you can find it. I tried to, with the Pinterest, I tried to link. So if you, I don't know if you have used Pinterest, but if you go in, you can go right to the websites. So then I figured this was the easiest way to give everyone all the information. So along some of it, they do charge for because it's something that they've spent time creating. But other times you can just print it offline and make it work for you. You know, and there's information about social stories. We didn't even get into that, but there's a lot of different things you can do with visuals.
Can we have another class that's maybe 45 minutes long on the uses of these types of visuals with elderly folks or Alzheimer's?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, just back on that, I think that would be a great idea to have it based on, like, you know, the more broad things that these could help with, like ADHD or autism or the elderly. I think it would be great to have a class that broke it down a little bit more like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, because oftentimes people think of visuals as you only use it with individuals with autism, and that's not the case at all. Like we said at the beginning, we all use visuals all the time. So really trying to figure out what works for that individual. My youngest has undiagnosed ADHD, is my guess, and visuals work really well for her. So it's really just working with the individuals you're working with and personalizing it to what they need or what works for them. So we can definitely do a more in-depth training at some point. Other questions or comments? I also put my email address in the chat. So if you have any specific questions you want to follow up with, feel free to let me know. And again, any other topics, feel free to put it in the survey or email, and I would love to keep expanding on these monthly mini trainings. So thank you all for coming. Again, I'll stick on a couple minutes if anyone else has any other questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.